Welcome. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the Wadi people of Wangan and Jangalingo country, the traditional owners of the land on which I am today, and offer my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. Also acknowledge those who are ongoing effort to protect and promote Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures will leave a lasting legacy for future elders and leaders. And I extend that acknowledgement to the traditional owners of the land of wherever you may be joining us today. Wadamuli. Um, Today's webinar topic is real-time payments and PayTo. I'd like to welcome our presenter, Neil Freeman from Australian Payments Plus, who is based on the Sunshine Coast, who I'm in pouring rain and he told me he's overlooking the ocean. So yeah, welcome, Neil. Um, So there's significant changes looming on the Australian payments landscape, and as local government finance professionals, we need to be prepared for the upcoming transitions. This webinar will explore the planned phase out of the BECS direct debits, so that's the bulk electronic clearing system, by June 2030. And the introduction of PayTo as the new solution for direct debits processors as a new payment platform, and how PayTo fits in the real-time payments framework. And there'll be practical case studies demonstrating the capability and advantages of PayTo for local government operations. These ones are significant things for us, particularly with our rates landscape, trying to encourage our ratepayers to get on board with direct debits. It's going to be a bit of a change. So I'm glad to see that it's 2030. So local government, that gives us plenty of time to plan. So the session will be followed by a Q&A opportunity. To submit your questions, please use the live Q&A button that you'll find on your screen. Should be on the right-hand side of your screen, I think. Feel free to submit them throughout the webinar. We'll most likely respond to them after the presentation, but we might wing it for this one and see how we go if there's a pressing question. So over to you, Neil.
Thanks, Zoe, and welcome to everyone. Thanks for having me. Feels a little bit strange doing a session like this without, so I usually use Teams for my meetings, so I get to see the faces of everyone attending, so it feels a little bit odd. That's okay, we'll persevere. And yes, it is a beautiful day here in the Sunshine Coast. Sun's out, the ocean is glassy right now. So thanks, Zoe, for doing acknowledgement to country. It saves me one slide, so I don't have to talk quite as much. So as Zoe mentioned, so today I wanted to just cover off on who AP Plus is, the new payments platform, BECS migration. As Zoe explained, BECS is the bulk electronic clearing service, PayID, which a lot of you probably have heard about already, PayTo, and also another solution which will help with frauds and scams, which is confirmation of payee. So who are we and who am I? So Neil Freeman. I started working with BPay 3 years ago and was around for 12 months with BPay before we merged into Australian Payments Plus, which, or most commonly we call ourselves AP Plus. What the Australian Payments Plus is the merged company of BPay, FPOS, and the new payments platform. You'll see there on the screen, there's quite a few different brands there. So Osco, a lot of you may have heard of previously, which was a solution BPay created for the new payments platform. So single real-time payment. And when you make a payment today through your online banking for a personal funds transfer, you'll see it probably comes up as an Osco payment. PayTo and PayID, both products related to the new payments platform, which I'll touch on shortly. And then we have Beam, which is there's a peer-to-peer service that was introduced by the three of the major banks that FPOS purchased from them a number of years ago, which is our base for our digital wallet solution that we're building out currently, which will be launched with Coles later this year. And then we have Connect ID, which is our digital ID verification service, which was launched last October. So, as I said, we merged together in 2022. That 450 plus employees is a little bit old now. I think we're almost at 550 plus employees. So we've almost doubled the workforce at AP Plus since we merged in the last 2 and a bit years. We partnered with 150 institutions across Australia, and we processed 4.9 billion transactions in 2023. That's targeted to grow to 6.3 billion transactions in the next 12 months. We're a member-owned organisation, so we operate in the public interest. So when I say member-owned, we're owned by 23 shareholders. The 4 major banks own majority share of us, which is around 82.6%, I think it is. And then there's Coles, Woolworths, some second-tier banks, a couple of international banks, and some fintechs that own shares in us as well. So everything we do is we don't call we make a profit, but we don't we don't want to make huge profits. So what we call ourselves is a profit for purpose business. So we reinvest a lot of the money we make, and also provide back feedback, rebates back to our members to encourage them to build out new products that are developed through our different platform schemes. Just quickly, I wanted to just touch on what our strategy is at AP Plus. Our purpose is to unite people and technology to power better experiences. Probably doesn't mean too much, but when we delve into what our main priorities are, is to help build trust. So we want to try to take a proactive lead in the industry and reduce fraud and scams, build secure networks, trusted products, which is that Connect ID I mentioned before, and just strengthen the protections for all users. I've got a really good slide later on that just shows you how much fraud there is in Australia. It has come down in the last 12 months, but there's still a lot of work to be done there. We want to become Australia's leading payments infrastructure over the next 5 years. So that's for business and government payments, so leading the migration of account to accounts, data-rich, value-added, and always on. Consumer-to-consumer payments, so continue to grow seamless real-time consumer payments. And then retail and bill payments, so become the leading retail and bill payment infrastructure across both debit and account to account. And then we're looking to simplify and transform. So we have 3 schemes. So we have 3 payment domestic payment schemes, being FPOS, BPay, and a new payments platform. Part of the reason for the merger to AP Plus was to try and simplify those schemes and try and merge some of them onto the same rails. What that then means is it's much easier for our members to implement new products as opposed to having to make changes to 3 schemes. We'll bring it down to 2 schemes. It just reduces that cost. That also reduces the cost of payments. So one of our core focuses is to reduce the cost of payments in Australia. So that benefits business, government, and consumers. And you'll see on the bottom line here, our winning aspiration, we want to be processing 2 in 5 payments in Australia in the next 5 years, which is a lot of payments. I'll just touch on this piece here. So when I say we want to simplify, so you'll see BPay sits in here in the MPP rails. So BPay today will remain as it is, but the way BPay is settled is overnight through BECS platform. So when BECS closes down, we'll settle the BPay settlements in real time. So BPay won't change as a process today for you, but the settlements will happen in real time. So once the bill institutions submit their files to us, those settlements will happen in real time in bulk. And then obviously FPOS will be the other second scheme of ours that will continue to roll. So the new payments platform, 24/7, always on. I'm sure most of you know what the new payments platform is. It was established in 2018. So the Australian government had a strategic plan for a digital economy. They wanted to create a modern, world-class and efficient payment system that's safe, trusted and accessible, and enables greater competition. Some of the key priorities were promoting a safe and resilient system, updating the payments regulatory frameworks, modernising payment infrastructure, uplifting competition, productivity and innovation across the economy, and ensuring Australia is a leader in the global payments landscape. So you see on the right there in the blue box, so Australia is ranked 5th in the OECD Digital Government Index. So we are quite up there with digital government. There's been a global shift in real-time payments across the world. You'll see there's nearly 70 real-time payment schemes globally. So in the US, in 2023 they launched FedNow, but that joined 2 other existing real-time payment networks in America. In Brazil, PIX was launched in 2010. They're experiencing rapid uptake. Africa has got Nigeria's real-time payment network launched in 2011. And what they've seen there in Nigeria, it's driving economic growth and financial inclusion. India is has emerged as a global leader in real-time payments. So their monthly transactions have reached 12 billion, worth 328 billion per month. China is not too far behind. So China's launched their IBPS. It's supporting around 18 billion real-time payments in 2021. So new payments platform. So prior to the merger to AP Plus, MPP, as I'll call it for you, consisted of 20 employees. They built this infrastructure alongside the RBA and the members at the time. Real-time MPP is real-time reliable payments. So by having real-time, it removes any uncertainty of receiving payments from bank accounts with real-time account validation as well. It's always on, so 24 hours, 365 days a year. MPP has never been down. If it is down at any time, it's generally because of one of the participants has gone down, but not MPP. We have numerous backups, so we're always on. And you'll see that 22% of payments are now being processed on weekends. So prior to the MPP being launched, there was no such thing as a transfer of funds being processed over the weekend. When you processed on Friday, 4 or 5 o'clock, before the bank's cutoff time, that would hit your account on a Monday, or it could be even a Tuesday. So it's really opening up that flow of funds and ensuring people are getting paid in obviously in real time, but there's no delays in those payments. MPP's data rich for easy reconciliation. So if you think of the number of characters you can put in a overnight transfer today, I think it's around 18 characters. MPP allows you to include up to 180 characters in that description line. With MPP, we're also including what we call CAT SCT. So it's a category single credit transfer, which allows for structured data to support, say, payroll, super, tax, and e-invoicing payments. And then simple addressing. When I say simple addressing, that's just referring to a pay ID. So I'm sure a lot of you probably may have a pay ID set up on one of your bank accounts or a couple of your bank accounts. It can be a mobile phone number or an email address. So on MPP, there's around 19 million pay IDs currently registered. And what we're finding is pay IDs are starting to be used by fintechs as a way of creating a new receivables product as well. So strategic rationale for the use of the MPP. So obviously we're trying to pursue a digital agenda, supporting the government in having that digital agenda across the broader economy. Deliver benefits to business, government, and citizens. So always on, every day of the year, processing payments in real time, helping to deliver better customer experiences and reducing those payment times. Deliver process efficiency. So MPP provides certainty of payment outcomes and better data in real time, as I mentioned. Help combat frauds and scams. So with greater data capabilities, like confirmation of payee or the addressing service of pay ID, it helps to reduce that fraud. So you know from those services, you know who you're actually paying before you submit your payment. This just gives you an idea of, since MPP was launched in 2018, what some of the transaction volumes have looked like. So 1.3 billion transactions in 2023, 125 million monthly transactions, 5 billion average daily value of transactions through the MPP. The single largest transaction was $39.3 billion. That's billion, not million. And that was one of a federal government agency. And there's 102 million accounts that are reachable now through MPP. And that's probably, I think that's only a third of the volume of transactions in Australia that we're currently processing. MPP, so it's growing faster than most other real-time payment systems across the globe. You'll see in the graph here that we're only growing second to Hong Kong's FPS, but growing much faster than some of these more established platforms. And you'll see we've only been around for just over 4 years, or just under 4 years. Oh, sorry, over 4 years. But we've had a very significant growth, which has been helped by the banks moving a lot of the single credit transactions from consumer to consumer, moving them to the MPP away from BECS. So our biggest challenge at the moment is to convert volumes from consumer to business and business to business volumes. We're looking to obviously migrate all the direct entry payments. So Zoe touched on direct debit, but it's also direct credit. So any payroll or vendor files that you're currently processing to make payments, those will need to move to MPP as well before 2030. So the graph on the right here, it gives you an indication of the growth of MPP compared to direct entry payments. So you can see there direct entry credit, which is outbound payments, and the direct debit, which is your inbound receivables. MPP is growing and has split the two of them, but the dial hasn't changed for direct entry for credit or debit. So we haven't seen any of that volume move to the MPP yet. So when we touch on PayTo, PayTo's the product that will help to move that direct debit volume to MPP, and obviously direct credit will come later, given that the current process is via that bulk batch processing. There are some solutions, but we're still working out with the industry what that currently looks like. So you see Jim Chalmers' speech in June 2023. He essentially said in that speech that the BECS was too clunky, inefficient, and cumbersome to maintain, so it's had to be replaced. And that's why MPP was developed in 2000. In 2018, it was launched, but I think they spent nearly 10 years developing MPP, consultation with RBA and industry to build it out. In December last year, the RBA announced a target date to decommission BECS framework of 2030, June 2030. And then implications of payments. So members of the broader ecosystem will be required to migrate all payments from BECS to MPP by that date. So as easy as it sounds, it's not that easy to do that migration. There's a lot of work from us to be ensure that we're ready. So we're working on future capacity planning for the platform and associated infrastructure to handle the direct entry volumes. We're still working on an agreed approach for processing bulk payments and defined operational processes. And I'll touch on that in another slide shortly. And then consistency and treatment of data within the payment message as well. So that's only a couple points there, but there's a lot of work we're doing and that we have been doing for the last couple of years to work on helping the industry, not even just industry, the whole ecosystem in Australia to start to be ready for that migration. For a participant, so a participant would be financial institutions or connected institutions to the MPP. So for them, they need their processing ability and associated capability and performance required. So they need to uplift their systems to be able to handle the volumes as well. And then a defined migration approach at individual organization levels. Then we come to the ecosystem. So a lot of things we've been doing over the last couple of years is just analyzing use cases, including the edge use cases, just to ensure that we understand if there's any deficiencies with NPP that we need to cover off. So when I think of local government, I think we've probably got all your use cases covered. It's if we're thinking receivables, you're receiving rates, you're receiving payments for development applications or pets or anything else where you're receiving payment. I think all those use cases are covered by NPP. What we probably don't cover currently yet is for your payroll and outbound payments on what that looks like with the batch processing. So we've also been engaging key stakeholders, including AusPayNet. I did note that someone was on here from Tech One, so we've been engaging with the ERP systems as well, just to ensure that they're all ready for the migration as well, and that they're able to ingest the real-time data. We're working on market communications and strategy, how-to guides, toolkits, and collateral for the ecosystem. So what you'll see come out in, I think it's August this year, we'll have a playbook available, publicly available for business governments to review and to help with migrating direct debit. And then later in the year, we'll have around December, we should have a playbook as well for outbound payments for the two, addressing that bulk issue at the moment. So we're scaling up the capacity of the platform. So December last year, all our participants were required to have processing capability to support approximately 50% of BECS volumes being processed on NPP, and in addition to our forecasted volumes as well to maintain. So you can see there, so that the line here is the that's actual, and then we got the capacity increase. I'll come back to you as well. So NPP, because we'll be picking up all that direct entry volume, NPP becomes critical infrastructure for Australia. So we're currently working our way through a lot of documents with the RBA, because we become critical infrastructure. So we'll be regulated by the RBA to ensure that we don't go down, that we're ever down. I mentioned earlier that NPP hasn't gone down. It's normally the participating institutions that have issues where they might be out for a couple of minutes, but NPP has always been on since it was launched. Account reach has been a heavy topic amongst some state governments. So I work with state government and local governments, as I mentioned earlier. So we've got 102 million accounts currently enabled. Covers around 90% of direct entry accounts for participating organisations. There's approximately 17 million accounts that aren't reachable at the moment. So most of those, though, are loan accounts, term deposits, superannuation accounts, or grandfathered accounts. So it's not typically it's not generally the accounts that someone is using for a transaction account, except for maybe some of the grandfathered accounts. There'll be 14.4 million accounts expected to be reachable in the next 12 months on NPP. And then we're working with Ministry on how to resolve the current reach gaps for the other 3 million accounts. I've mentioned performance and resilience and stability a few times now. So NPP is intentionally designed to be highly available and resilient infrastructure. It's with distributed architecture and backup sites. So I'm not sure if you know what a distributed architecture is, but it's if you think of a switch of individual payment access gateway, so a PAG, we call it, they're hosted by the financial institutions and connected institutions, and they directly connect to the NPP, which is with the centralized infrastructure that we support for NPP services. So just to give you an idea, an NPP participant is generally a bank. They can clear and settle payments. A connected institution can connect directly to NPP, but they can't settle or clear. And then we have identified institutions which can offer NPP-enabled services. So if you think of a fintech that is offering initiated service for PayTo, they would be an identified institution. No, so we don't have any central point of failure with our backup sites in that distributed architecture. We will be moving to a cloud base by 2028 as well, so everything will move to the cloud. Participating financial institutions must meet an availability targets, which equate to no more than 2 minutes per month of planned or unplanned outages. So it's we monitor that very closely, and there are implications to any financial institution that is outside of those targets. Most of the time we find in an event of an outage, in many cases, the recovery times are relatively short and MPP payments resume processing pretty quickly. AP Plus works closely with industry on platform resilience, and we support individual organisations on their plans to improve availability as well. So we work very closely with those participants on MPP. This is my favourite topic at the moment because it comes up so regularly in my discussions at state government. So processing of bulk payments. So today, obviously, you generate a file out of your ERP system and you upload that through your banking service. What that looks like on MPP. So MPP was intentionally designed to be single line processing. So single line processing doesn't allow you to upload a batch file because that's a batch file contains, it's one debit, but there's any number of credits in that file. So single line processing won't support that. So we're working through what that looks like for the industry at the moment. So it could be a case of payments submitted the same format today, and your banking partner will debulk that file before, and then they'll process each line individually, and then they'll rebulk that back to you in your reporting. Or it could be the way MPP was designed, where it's single line processing. So from your ERP, you're submitting payments directly line by line. As I said, I don't know what that looks like yet. We're still working that out. In my mind, it could look like that debulking service might be a short gap, because 2030 is not that far off if you think about it. We're only 6 years away, and there's a lot of work to do still. So we'll have some more information on that later in the year, and I can provide that to Kyle and the team to distribute the links to that information. So solutions available in MPP. So this isn't a product vlog to you. MPP, we wholesale the service, so we don't sell directly to anyone. It's your banking partners that would have these services for you. So if you look at the fast data rich payments, so OSCO, I mentioned it earlier, it's just a secure real-time payment between bank accounts, single payment. The data rich payments, the CAT SCT or category single credit transfer, just allows for the embedding of data and classification of payment types, such as payroll, super, or tax. International payment service. So we just launched this recently, so we're able to do the final domestic leg of an inbound international payment. So if you think if you've receiving funds internationally, once it hits Australia and has been changed to Australian dollars, it will then move in real time to your account, as opposed to an overnight transfer after. PayID is the simpler way to address payments with an easy-to-use identifier, such as mobile email address, or for businesses, an ABN organisational ID. And confirmation of payee. So I've got a few slides on confirmation of payee to come up. That just provides the ability to view the payee's name and or account, matching it prior to making a payment. So you might have seen CBA have been doing that. If you're a CBA customer, you might have noticed that's where you can see through their platform who you're paying before you make that payment, if you're paying to a BSB account number. And then PayTo, the modern digital payment solution, which was initially designed to replace direct debits, but it's there's a lot of use cases outside of just direct debits as well, where it can be used for any type of payment that you want to receive. All right, let's get into PayID. So fast, easy, and secure to send and receive money straight to your bank account. I don't think I won't stay on this too long because I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Pay ID. It allows you to link your phone number and email address, ABN, or organisation identified to your bank account. The great value to it for personal accounts. If I have a Pay ID in my CBA account today, I can change bank accounts, move my Pay ID to say ANZ to my new bank account, and I don't have to change that information that I've provided someone I've set up a direct debit with. It'll just change with that. The Pay ID will change to the new bank account, and I don't have to update any bank account details for that. Let's skip this one. So Pay ID is pay confirmation step. When you put a Pay ID, if you haven't used a Pay ID before, when you input the Pay ID when you're making a payment, it'll bring up the name associated to the owner of that Pay ID, which can ensure that you're paying the correct person. So if you have put in the details wrong or the name doesn't match to that Pay ID, you can stop your payment and you can confirm those details before proceeding. PayTo, so faster, easier, and secure payments. So PayTo was designed, as I said, to modernise payments, replace direct debits, be a more secure way and a simpler way to complete those recurring payments. There is a lot more transparency with PayTo. You'll see on the right-hand side of the screen there that you can have all your PayTo agreements listed in your online banking. So you can go in and view those at any time. So I've got a few more slides. I'll show you a bit more detail of that shortly. So PayTo agreements. So you can see it on the left of the screen there. You can view all your PayTo agreements. This is where you would come in and authorize a new PayTo agreement as well. You can transfer a PayTo agreement from another bank as well. You can pause or resume a PayTo agreement. Now, you may think that's not great for you if a ratepayer is going to pause an agreement, but you get notification in real time that that's been paused, and you can contact the individual and ask about what the circumstances are and why they're pausing that agreement. Because they still have, when they enter into a PayTo agreement, it's the same as direct debit today, they've entered into a legal agreement with you for you to get paid. And then you can change debtor account details, so you can amend your PayTo account details that the funds are coming out of. Or a PayTo agreement can be cancelled permanently. Again, as a council, you would receive real-time notice that someone has cancelled that agreement, and then you can follow them up and find out the circumstances of why that has been cancelled. This is just some of the use cases around PayTo, but as I mentioned, PayTo can be used for almost anything where you're collecting money. So it can be used for e-commerce. So PayTo can be used as a recurring payment, or it can be an ad hoc or a one-off payment. PayTo can be set up where I could set up an agreement to pay my water bill, and because my water bill changes each quarter, I could put in place a limit. So I could put in place a $500 limit. If my water bill is normally around $420, it's covered. But if the water bill goes up in the next quarter up to $480, I'm covered by that limit. So I don't have to make any additional payment, or you don't have to chase me for any shortfall in that payment. PayTo could be used. You could use QR codes to enable PayTo at a checkout in store or online. It can be used for online investment platforms where you're doing an instant account top-up, custodian account management, so automated settlement transactions, loans, so efficient repayment. So I'm working with an agency in Victoria where we're looking at PayTo to be used for collecting loan repayments, but also they have a bit of trouble when someone sets up a direct debit today. The account details, they have a lot of forms that come back where the account details are incorrect. So by setting up PayTo, of course, they have to go in and authorize it through their online banking, that those details are correct, and the payment will come out instantly once it's been authorized. Outsourced business processes. So if you're a business and you're outsourcing payroll and dividends or accounts payable, PayTo could be used to debit the funds from your account by the third-party payroll to make those payments. In-app, so alternative to Apple Pay or Google Pay, superannuation, same again, automated payments to top up your super, utility bills, alternative to direct debit, so that fits in the same with rates for recurring transactions, or if you have water as well, it can be used for the water bills. So benefits for government: real-time sign-up and verification. For that first payment is taken in real time once the PayTo agreement has been authorised. So that reduces the failed sign-ups and fraud. Also means you no longer have to hold on to that signed copy of a direct debit form for I think it's 7 years. You have to hold on to that. Real-time payments, so confirm that the payment has been successfully completed and get funds straight away. Real-time notification, so you know if the payment succeeds or fails, and you'll be alerted if a customer pauses or cancels an agreement. Automatic reconciliation with data, so within the PayTo agreement, you can embed whatever information you want. You can have invoice and products can be embedded into the PayTo agreements, so it can just help with that matching of the payment coming in. Benefits for customers, touched on this briefly earlier. So visibility, they have visibility to their PayTo agreements. Control, they authorize an agreement before a business can take the money out of their account. They can pause it, they can change details on it, or they can cancel agreements. But as you know, you will receive notification on that. They can also then move their PayTo agreements to different institutions as well. Real-time payments, so payments are taking it out of the customer's bank accounts in real time. Privacy, businesses can only see a customer's pay ID, so mobile phone or email address when they pay, which ensures account details and personal information stay private. And security, payments are protected as they're approved within online banking. So it's a very, very secure system, given that everything has to be done through your online banking. So I've mentioned a few times, so PayTo was initially the alternative to direct debit. So for local government, you can start setting up and moving direct debits that you have with customers to PayTo agreements now. The product is live and active. I'll touch on where some of your banking partners are up to and what they can do in the next couple of slides. I think if we look at the first two columns here, it gives you a bit of an idea of the difference between direct debit and PayTo. So I think we covered payment certainly with NOP and account validation in the last couple of slides and the visibility. But I think the big one here is that slow payment process of up to 3 days. So where direct debit today has that 3-day return process, you don't get that with PayTo. So you're getting the payment in your account in real time. So when the direct debit or when the PayTo agreement, PayTo payments due today, it's in your account today. So you're not having to worry about those returns. Also the limited data with direct debit, so 18 characters, 280 character set through PayTo. PayTo for in-app and e-commerce. So I won't touch too much. This probably doesn't really affect you too much, or it could be used on a council website for some of your one-off or ad hoc payments. If you think pet registration or anything like that, PayTo could be used for that as well by simply adding PayTo as a payment link or payment method to your current payment methods on your websites. And the benefit of PayTo, it's low cost. So as opposed to card payments today, where merchant service fees can be quite high, your PayTo payments, a PayTo cost per transaction will be much lower than a card payment. PayTo is currently available through online banking of over 55 financial institutions. So when I say for online banking, this is where you would receive this banking partner would receive the PayTo request too. So this is where I would go in and authorize my PayTo agreement. And then we have PayTo initiator. So a PayTo initiator is where, so your banking partner would be a PayTo initiator. So whether you bank with NAB, CBA, Westpac, or ANZ, they would be the PayTo initiator. You can see here currently Westpac and ANZ are both live. CBA and NAB are coming on board. I think NAB was meant to go live this month or next month, and CBA a little bit later in the year with PayTo. So I'm going to run you through a little example here. I didn't have one for local gov to put together, but it's, if we set aside Kenga coverage as an insurance provider and just think of this as, it could be paying a rates notice, so it could be any council name here. But what you're looking at here is, so here's the payment options. In the first screen, PayTo has been listed as an option. So all you simply do, instead of clicking credit or debit or PayPal, select PayTo, and then that'll ask you for a Pay ID. Or you can input a BSB account number instead, up to you what you want to use if you don't have a Pay ID. So once you put those details in, simply click continue, and then the payment. So then it goes to payment. So the PayTo agreement will be sent to your online banking. So once you get to this stage here, you simply log into your online banking. And we'll go to the next page. And then you have an authorization requested within your online banking. So once you've logged into your online banking, you can view full details of the agreement, or you can authorize the agreement straight away, or decline it if you're not happy with it, and go back and start the processes again. But once you've viewed the details, yes to authorize, and you'll see here authorization has been completed, and then you can return to PayTo agreements, or go back to navigate back to your the website or the app where they initiated the PayTo request from. Within your online banking, you can pull up your PayTo agreements and click on any of them in there, and you get the full details of what the payment agreement is. So description, who it is, amount, the frequency, what account's linked, and obviously start date, end date, first payment, status is active. So there's so much information in there for a consumer to view and to stay on top of their on their recurring payments or ad hoc payments. So today, if you think of direct debit, how many people have got direct debits that you have no idea when they're coming out, or how do you cancel your direct debits? It's really hard process today with direct debits. PayTo just makes that so much easier for the consumer to stay on top of their recurring bills. How are we going for time? Okay. I'll quickly go through this and we can answer any questions after that if you like. So confirmation of pay service, or COP as we call it. We like acronyms at AP+. The problem we're trying to solve, so you'll see there in 2022, Australians lost 3.1 billion to scams. Investment scams was the highest, but you can see there's quite a few different scams there. That did reduce in 2023 to 2.7 billion, but it's still a hell of a lot of money to be lost in scams. So what we've developed with the industry is confirmation of payee service. So what that does, you'll see here on these screens, is provides you with a 24/7 real-time account name verification and a name display. So you see there's three different, you've got green, red, or amber. So if it's green, that means the account name matches the account number, so you're safe to make a payment. If it's amber, it might just be that the name's spelled a little bit differently, but you're confident that that's the correct person, so you can check it first before making that payment. If it's red, the account name doesn't match the account, that's when you start asking some questions. Well, I might double check this and contact who I'm paying first before completing my payment. So what does that mean for council? Obviously, you don't do a lot of one-off payments, but if you're putting together a batch file, you can do all that checking before you make a payment. So confirmation of pay service will allow you to verify all those account details in your payment file before you submit it for processing. The current process flow really doesn't change too much when you're making a payment. So you'll see it's only really screens 5, 6, and 7 here in a payment that there's one new screen and 2 of the existing flows are updated. So confirmation of pay comes in before you complete your payment. It's giving you that ability to check that payment details before continue with it. Once you continue with it, it just brings up those details and you can confirm that you want to make that payment. So same experience, it's just a much better outcome. Gives you peace of mind that you're paying the right person. So confirmation of pay will use confirmed data. So when I say confirmed data, it's our participants will confirm the account details to the payer institutions and customers by relying on the actual account information. I mentioned earlier that CBA had been doing something at the moment where they can bring up the account holder's name. What they're using is observed data. So what they're doing is they're giving a confidence scoring based on previous payments that you've made. So if you've paid me before and you're paying me for, say, the 3rd time, when my name comes up, you're confident that the observed data it's pulling that up and saying, well, you've paid Neil a couple of times now. This is who the account belongs to. And that's it for today. Hopefully have some questions.
Wow. I have lots of questions. I have lots of questions. We might have to talk. We might have to have you back, particularly as we move through to 2030. So, look, we'll move on.
Sorry, I was just going to say I could only really cover the high level there. So there's a lot of detail involved here. So.
Yes. So we do have some questions from our audience. So the first question we've got is so our understanding is the 2030 timeframe is a target. So, and there's no clear. Oh, we've lost Neil.
Am I here?
Yeah, we can't see you. You're in the dark now. Yeah. So as long as
stop sharing, how's that? There's a bit of cloud cover coming over, so it's not quite as perfect now.
As long as you can still hear us, Neil.
Right. How's that? Can you see me now?
Yeah, I can't, but maybe it's just me. Okay. So anyway, the question was, our understanding is that the 2030 timeframe is a target. There's no clear mandate and will be subject to industry progress towards adoption. If there is a mandate, can you please direct us to clear published content on this?
So we're working with Federal Treasury at the moment to get that clear mandate. So obviously it's a line drawn in the sand by the RBA for 2030. But if we don't get the support from Federal Treasury to start the top-down approach, what we'll find is it will get pushed out, the date will get pushed out, and then are we another 5 years down the track or another 10 years down the track because people are saying they're not ready. So by engaging with Federal Treasury and getting their buy-in to start pushing it, we're hoping that this enables us to just get that traction in the ecosystem to make sure everyone is working towards being ready. And look, it may be a case where it could get pushed out by a couple of years if some in the ecosystem aren't ready, but we definitely don't want to see it to be pushed out for any longer than a couple of years.
So stay tuned to
that one.
Yeah. Okay. Stay tuned. We'll keep an eye out on that one, and we can circulate that on our members network when we've got that. So, you were talking about the confirmation of payee, and you're right. There are some products out there that already do something similar. So like you used Commonwealth as an example, and they're effectively validating Commonwealth accounts. And I believe that NAB is offering something similar for validation of NAB accounts when you're making your direct entry file. So the confirmation of payee process through your platform, that is confirmation of all payees, or is it again only through the banking, your banking provider we're using?
It'll be confirmation of all payees. So it's mandatory for all participants on MPP to take it up, and it has to be in place by April, May next year.
Okay, fantastic. So that is a big game changer for government in particular, to save a lot of the phone calls to, you know, the mums and dads who submit your bank account for, or they submit their tax invoice for something small to our creditors clerks, and then our accounts payable team. And then we've got the phone calls of, you know, confirming, or the process of confirming that. So that hopefully will streamline a lot of that. The other thing you said about when we were talking about the time frame and the 2030 and industry needing to take it up and come on board. What's the impact on the small building societies and credit unions for these sorts of, you know, this platform and what's happening with direct debits and things like that? Is it just the big financial institutions and the fintech? You know, are we going to see a negative impact?
So a lot of those small credit unions today use Cuscal. So Cuscal is already able to initiate the PayTo agreements, and I think there's only really, if you think about who's not on the MPP platform today, it's really only the really remote regional building societies, credit unions that aren't there today, and there is work progressing where they will be on board before 2030 as well.
Oh, that's fantastic. I personally, I'm excited about the BPay, you know, real-time payment settlement for BPay is a huge game changer for councils in particular. I know personally we have every single time we have our discount period close with council, we have the argument with ratepayers, but I paid it via BPay on the day it was due. And
Yeah.
we're saying, well, we didn't receive it for 3 days, and we make sure that we tell you that. So this is going to be a game changer for our ratepayers as well. You know, being able to just not having to think, oh, do I have to pay that a little bit earlier? Being able to set it up. So, look, I think you've just blown away the audience with the volume of information. And every time I wrote down a question, the next slide answered it for me. But I will definitely be going back and listening to the recording again and having a look at that slide deck, because there's just so much information there. And please, you know, keep us up to date as we go through. I think we might be having these regular chats, Neil, online, the two of us.
I think so. And look, if it works out, I'm happy to do this again next year when the offers come up, because there'll be a lot more information to be shared again that we finalise at the end of this year.
Well, I'll let you go to enjoy your sunshine and beautiful ocean view. But before we sign off, I just wanted to thank everyone in the audience for their attendance. And before you go, we've just got a few messages from the LGFP committee. So a copy of the webinar recording will be available on our YouTube channel over the coming days, and the presentation slides will also be available to members through our members library on our website. So if you're not a member and would like to join, please see the membership area of our website or email admin@lgfp.org.au. We don't have a webinar lined up for July because we have our in-person finance professionals forum on Friday the 26th of July in Brisbane. Now, this is free for LGFP members and only $110 for non-members. So it's a full day of professional development with updates from the various government departments and other speakers. So refer to our website at lgfp.org.au for information. The other thing we have is mark your diaries for the 2024 annual conference. That's our flagship event being held on the Gold Coast from the 19th to the 22nd of November. And a final reminder, if you're wanting some advice or have a question, pop it into the LGFP members network. It's great to see that a lot more of our members are actually reaching out and using that. So I'll say thank you again, Neil, for such an informative session. And to all our local government finance professionals in our audience, happy end of financial year. Woohoo! Look, may the next few days run smoothly for your rollovers. Get lots of sleep, eat good food. Chocolate has caffeine. There's a tip. Nutella straight out of the jar. That'll keep you awake forever. And look, after saying that, remember to look after yourselves and your team members over the next few months. It's our traditional busy season in local government, meeting all of our deadlines for end of year. So I hope to see many of you in person at our forum in Brisbane in a few weeks. So we're a little bit early. We'll sign off and no more questions. Thanks again, Neil, and
Thank you.
we'll see you all next time.
All right. Thanks. Bye.